Good afternoon and welcome to the board's operating budget work session on this day, Wednesday, January the 22nd. If we could all rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If I can get approval of the agenda. So moved. Second. It's been moved and seconded. All those in favor? And that is unanimous. So good afternoon again and welcome to the board's FY 2021 operating budget work session. Today we will begin the review of the superintendent's FY 2021 operating budget request. The order of review is reflected in the agenda. Staff will provide an overview of the superintendent's recommended operating budget, followed by a review of the budget by chapter. Our second and final work session will be held on Wednesday, January the 28th, 2020, beginning at 12:30 p.m. and will include a review of the remaining chapters of the superintendent's operating budget. I would like to remind everyone that the board is scheduled to take tentative action on the operating budget at our all-day board meeting on February the 10th, 2020. As we go through the budget chapters, I urge staff to point out pertinent issues that may be of concern to the board. As always, board members are free to ask questions at any point during the presentations and request staff to provide information on specific issues. Dr. Smith, did you have any comments or remarks you wanted to make?
Thank you, Ms. Evans. So it's amazing that we're here again a year later, getting ready to talk about the budget for fiscal year 2021. In our first work session, we heard a lot of comments over the hearings, and of course, our residents can comment at any time on our website and do with a lot of questions and comments about the budget. The budget is a document that helps guide our work. Our essential purpose is to take care of the well-being of our students physically, socially, and psychologically, and make sure they're all ready for learning. And because learning is our core purpose. This budget has been constructed with a focus on students, classrooms, and schools. I don't know that we should ever change that line on that screen or on this budget, because that is our core purpose. And a tremendous amount of work went into this, and I would certainly like to thank all of the staff members, literally hundreds and hundreds of people across schools and offices who contribute to how this budget is put together. In particular, I'd like to thank the budget team, and so they are seated right over here, and our outgoing Chief Financial Officer, Ms. Diamond, and our incoming acting Chief Financial, Dan Morella, and all of their work. And Dan and Nikki, I appreciate all the work you've done together over the last several weeks to make this a very smooth transition. But we have many miles to go with this budget before it's completed. As everyone knows, on February 10th, the board will approve your final budget after all of the looks and any actions that you take around this budget. Then it will go to the county executive, who will include it in his overall county budget in March. Then the county council will work with it all the way through the end of May, when they will adopt a county budget that will include our budget, and then it will come back to our board for final consideration and approval in early June. So many miles to go, but would be remiss if I didn't thank all the people, in particular the budget team and Ms. Diamond and Mr. Morella, for all of your work around this very important process. And I will tell you, we are meeting now. We're setting up meetings now with the Budget Advisory Committee to talk about issues in this proposed budget and to look forward to fiscal year 2022. So I hope you can all smile about that, because we're already talking about 2022 as we go through the process for 2021. So I will turn it over to Ms. Diamond and Mr. Morella, and we'll go from there.
Thank you very much, Dr. Smith. I want to reiterate what you just said. It's been a very busy few weeks, and Nikki has been more than gracious in getting me started in this new opportunity. I've been drinking from a fire hose, and I'm now down to a straw. There's still a lot to learn, but it's really all to do with Nikki, and I really appreciate how easy she's making it for me to transition, so thank you. And I'm also going to take this opportunity, if it's okay, I want to be a little more specific in the budget analysts who prepare these chapters, Chapter 1 being the largest, and I'll mention their names as we go through, but Chapter 1, please stand, are Yvonne Alfonso Windsor, Patrick Bazemore, best dressed young man in the CFO right there, Laura Chen, and Diane Gomez. Thank you, guys.
Very good, thank you.
So I'm going to do a quick 2-minute briefing on the first couple of slides, and then Dr. McKnight's going to start off the Chapter 1 presentation, and she'll be getting assistance from both Kevin and Rochelle, correct?
And Nikki.
And Nikki, right.
Yes.
So if you go to slide 2, the superintendent's budget, there's 2 ways of looking at this, both the expenditure side, which is what I'm more used to in my previous career, and the revenue side. Revenue to me used to be go to Congress and have them say yes. It's very different in the school system. There's a lot of grants, there's local, state funding, but what this first slide depicts is we are requesting, or Dr. Smith is requesting of you, an increase of our budget from operating budget from $2.68 billion to $2.8 billion. Those are rounded numbers. It's about $121.1 million increase. And that includes all types of increases. It's your increased students, it's your accelerators, it's all those factors. So what you'll see here in Object 1, the salaries and wages is an increase of about $84 million. The contractual services are proposed to increase about $14 million. Supplies and materials are $6 million. Other, which is a catch-all for your local travel, insurance benefits, utilities, all those factors, is an additional $15 million. And finally, in equipment, an increase of $2 million. Very de minimis when you look at a budget of $2.8 billion. If at any point after this meeting you want to get into the specifics, I know this morning Mrs. Spondrowski and I sat down, we went through some of the specific numbers. We're available for those types of conversations whenever you want. And this team back here can answer any question because I've asked them every one. So they're ready for you.
They were very good.
They're ready for you. So page 3. This is a breakdown on the revenue side of that same $121 million. And it's phenomenal how we go down to the exact same dollar, $258. It's remarkable work by staff to get there. We're having an increase of state aid of about $32 million we project. The MOE increase is about $24 million. It's to maintain current services. The amount over MOE is about $47 million, and that's the amount of resources we're seeking above our budget for this year. That's not revenue available yet. Change in federal aid's de minimis, and then the Enterprise Special Revenue Fund is $11 million. It sounds like a significant amount of money, but most of that money is just camera fees flowing through the organization. We'll collect the fines, and then we'll send them off to the county. So it's just a pass-through. And then there's some small grants that make up the $4.3 million. The governor released his budget last week, and there's an increase of $230 million statewide for all state students for K through 12. In addition, there's proposing $351 million for the Blueprint for Maryland, the Kerwin proposal. And last year there was about $100 million less than the 351, of which we got $24 million last year. We still don't know specifically how much of that additional $100 million MCPS will receive. It's still TBD, and we've been digging deep and digging hard, and we don't have a solid number yet. So we'll let you know as soon as we get that number. We'll update you on that.
Thank you.
The governor's budget, as now currently written, provides an additional $3 million above what we had projected in Dr. Smith's December budget. So that's good news. We had done some preliminary projections and assessments, and based on what we knew, we believed we would be receiving about $3 million less than we actually are recommended to receive now from the governor. So that is good news. And and total state increases. The governor's budget for the entire state increases education by $34.7 million, of which we're the $3.6 million. The accelerators, which is always a very important and
Dan, could we have Dr. Smith jump in for just
I just
one
wanted to
quick
point
second?
out, there's a
absolutely.
bullet on here that I think is particularly important. Last year, I often stated that we made up about 40% of the statewide enrollment growth. If you notice, we actually gained more students this year, but we only make up about 20% of the statewide enrollment growth. And given that all these formulas are based on the wealth formula and enrollment, that's something we need to pay attention to because it's relative to how other systems are growing and what's happening with their wealth formula in other systems. So just to keep everybody in everyone's mind that even though we grew more than we did last year, we're a smaller percentage of the overall growth in this state. So that should cause us to realize we're likely to our funds should just be somewhat reduced in terms of how those formulas work.
And if you don't mind me adding, what's phenomenal is the growth is like 4 times what it was last year statewide, and we're yet only 20% of a smaller number.
Right.
So that's not sure why that's the case. I'm sure we'll hear soon. The accelerators. This is the request for additional resources we need to serve the students in the fashion we think we should be serving them. Mm-hmm. This is above our MOE. These are things that Dr. Smith and the others believe we need to be providing that service for these students. And we broke it down into a couple very broad categories. I have a list of every accelerator. If at any point you want to see them, it's 2 pages of accelerators from very small to significant. But if you ever want to sit down or me to give you a copy of that list by chapter, I have that available. Okay? So, I mean, accelerators for their learning was 83 FTE and about $14 million. And the accelerators for operational improvements, such as bus service, some HR support here where we need additional HR support. Those types of services are in the second category, operational. That's about 66 FTE and $9 million. And the next page is where our projected enrollment will be in fiscal year 21, an increase of 2,796 students. But like Dr. Smith said, while that's a significant number of students to be supporting and providing education to, it's much smaller than what the rest of the state is facing right now. So our percentage is half of what it was last year. Like I said, we have a tremendous amount of background material, and I want to share it with you, and I want to sit down and have detailed discussions with any one of you who wants to do that at any time. Staff is ready to go, and I think I'm ready to go, and if I'm not, I have Nikki's cell number, so I will be ready to go.
I think it's important for the board to highlight just a couple things related to some of the updates that Dan gave, and I'll just go through a couple things that I know are important to you. So one is you heard some updates around the state budget came in a little different than we had anticipated, approximately $3 million. We also don't know some of the details of where the additional Kerwin funds are going to go, including the pre-K. And so both of those actions from the governor's budget will result in the superintendent coming to you with some amendments to his budget. And remember, he could come with amendments for the revenue side, which means I'm amending the revenue side in terms of where the revenue is coming from, but not the actual overall budget. So you could actually just have amendments on the revenue side. We're getting more money from the state, therefore we're asking for less from local government, or vice versa. He also can and will come with amendments to the expenditure side as those come up between now and the time the Board of Education meets in February. And those could include, for example, we know there's a significant amount of money set aside for pre-K, and up until at least Monday, Tuesday, we did not know yet, and I assume that we do not know yet, how much of that could target us. And so right now you see some projections in terms of how many additional pre-K students we have. We were anticipating adding, and the superintendent will talk briefly about this today and then again next week, $1 million to expand pre-K services, perhaps just going from half day to full day. If we get additional dollars beyond the $1 million, we may be able to expand to the number of students. And so both the changes in terms of the Kerwin dollars that come in and the state dollars that come in, and any adjustments the superintendent may make between now and when he meets with you and when you look at your budget in February, could impact these enrollment numbers. It could impact the sides of the equation for expenditures as well as the side for revenue. So I just want to highlight that. It is a working document, as it's always been. And so we start with a document for sure, but it's agile and flexible, and so there'll be amendments throughout, including all the amendments that you as a Board of Education want to make.
So now Dr. McKnight's going to start taking us through the K through 12 section of the presentation.
All right. So thank you, Nikki and Dan, for that introduction. So for Chapter 1, I will start with a few slides to give a general overview of some of the priorities in Chapter 1. And then I'll be joined at the table by Ms. Nikki Hazel, who will talk specifically about ESOL components that are included in Chapter 1. And then Kevin Lowndes will also join us to talk specifically about special education components of the budget that are also involved in Chapter 1. Okay? So just to start with a general overview, our schools K through 12 budget is generally, as you can see, it is $1.16 billion, but 96% of that budget is dedicated towards salaries and wages. So that's a big part to note about this part of the budget that is significant to understand. You'll see that there are other smaller components of the budget like contractual services, supplies and materials, equipment and other. And I always say, whenever you have that category of other, people always go, what is that? How do we define other specifically? So those are things that contribute to programs like dual tuition in early college, out-of-county tuition, exams, registration fees, those types of things that just support schools generally. I will tell you one of the largest expenditures in the other categories for us is the dual tuition in early college, which is $1,216,000 and $136,000. So that's like our largest contributor to that particular category of other. Okay? So next, essentially the next slide focuses on schools and what our FTEs are that we are projecting for staffing at each level. So you'll see in the first box we have there, light blue, it has the K-12 positions, and then you'll see at the bottom the total number of FTEs dedicated to that, but you'll also see it broken down according to elementary, middle schools, and then high schools, all of the FTEs that are budgeted, projected on what's needed at each of these staffing levels. At the top, you'll see that there are some other positions that are noted there in red. One thing I want to note is that these are positions that do also support schools, but they are noted in other chapters of the budget, so just not to cause confusion, those things are, available in there to support schools, but they come up in other parts of the budget, so don't want to get you confused about, we have them, but they're just not particularly laid out for Chapter 1.
Can I ask a question about the previous slide?
Sure.
Turn your light on. Sure you can.
Why is CREA and equal opportunity schools and two-way immersion under contractual services? What is being funded through contractual services for those?
Specifically.
Dr. Navarro will come to the table to answer the question. Thank you.
So for CREA, we have a staffing allocation. You'll see that CREA is actually in the OSIP budget for salaries, but we support professional development and additional supports for social emotional supports for the CREA students. So we have some contractual dollars there. You asked about two-way immersion.
Yeah.
So two-way immersion, we have a contract to support the professional development. with a couple of people. One of them is Dr. Medina, who came to speak to the board about his work. And we have additional supports for additional professional developments and opportunities for staff.
Equal opportunity schools.
I can respond to that. That equal opportunity schools across 18 high schools, and we have a shared responsibility with the state. They have been funding each of the last 4 years a share of the fee for each school. So there is out of equal opportunity schools offices, there is a consultant that comes and works with each high school over a 2-year period, and the state has covered not quite half of that cost for school systems that will engage in this work around equity of opportunity and access. And so I want to say our share has been about $15,000 per school, and the state's participation has been $10,000 a school, and that's over each year, each school.
When we, all of these categories, I know you'd mentioned if we wanted a better breakdown of it, a more thorough breakdown, can we do that for all of those type of things? Because I'm not sure I fully understand what Dr. Smith just said in terms of we're paying the state back, is that?
No, the state actually helps support the cost of that work that's done by a national nonprofit around equal opportunity schools.
We pay them.
And we pay them, and the state pays part of that fee, and so they grant us money to help offset that cost for each school that we serve. And we're serving 18 schools right now.
Right.
18 high schools.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you.
But yes, Ms. Mondrowski, if you want to talk about any of the specific categories, we can definitely.
Yeah, I
have the time
appreciate
to
that
do
because school funds online and stuff like that, I'm interested in that as well.
So we're back to schools and just talking about all of the FTEs that are dedicated to each level of our schools, from elementary to high, which is what you'll see in the dark blue boxes below. And you'll see positions dedicated for schools based on our projections, and those are administrative positions, teacher level positions, and supporting services positions. And so that covers the superintendent's proposed budget that projects the staffing at each of the levels.
Okay.
For the board and for the public, I think it's important to note that this is a very high-level chart that Dr. Knight is going over. Within the budget in Chapter 1, you will see separate sections for elementary schools, middle schools, and high schools, and you'll see this breakdown. So, for example, of the 569 administrator positions, how many are in elementary, middle, and high? How many of those are principals versus assistant principals versus support staff? And you'll see the same sort of breakdown within the teachers and support staff. And Dr. Statham and her team work on helping to develop what that budget is and how many positions we need for each school, and then it is summed into the totals that you see in each section of the budget, and then this provides the one high-level summary of the entire chapter.
Thank you. Mrs. O'Neill, do you have a question? If you have a question, you can enter.
Okay, so my question is about class size. We heard several people testify about class size, and we also heard, from some MCEA representatives. I know that we put some money in last year to reduce primary grades in non-Title I and Focus. Can we get an update on where we are with the class size breakdowns, by elementary and middle and high school? I know you have a report, and it's been some months. We had a presentation, I guess, in the summer.
Right.
We had a discussion, but
Back in
I think,
June.
we shouldn't just gloss over it, because we did hear a number of folks testify about the concerns about class size.
I think, that would not be difficult. I know Dr. Statham and her team on a regular basis monitor the class size. When the budget's created, and Dr. McKnight's going to share this with you in a few moments, the way it's developed is by looking at the number of students in each grade level in each school and determining, based on the class size guidelines that you as a Board of Education have established, how many teacher positions we need, plus how many additional positions we need to keep a reserve so we can respond to enrollment fluctuations that occur throughout the year. So they report on it, they can see it, and they can get you that information, no problem.
And in Title I and Focus schools, we have the kindergarten and first grade 17 to 1, and we've maintained that.
So I believe it is 18 to 1.
18 to 1?
Yeah, but yes, that does not mean the classes are at 18. We use that as the guideline of when we allocate, when it goes above 18, when we allocate additional positions. So the average class size is actually smaller than that in those schools.
But, I mean, we did hear a number of people talk about class size, and I know, we had put some effort into the elementaries, but, there are still concerns at the high school level, and middle school. So I just throw that out. I think we should take a look at that. I mean, I know decreasing class size by an average of 1 district-wide is like 11 million, something like that, correct? I mean,
I actually believe it's slightly higher than that, but yes, it's significant.
Yeah, I think it's 17 million.
So, but it is significant, and I think, that the point around the impact that might have and the cost and how do you balance those two. But at the same time, I think Dr. Smith could speak about all the work he and has had our team doing, looking at how we're using the existing resources, because sometimes you actually don't need to add X number of positions. You need to look at the resources and how they're being used, and which are being used specifically to address class size and which might be used for other things, and how we prioritize to ensure that where it's needed, positions are allocated. And so I know that Dr. Smith has really charged us over the last 3 years that I've worked with him to make sure that we're all looking at that, and Dr. Statham and her team have been doing that.
Dr. Smith?
This budget does maintain those reductions that we put in place last year. And as Ms. Diamond said, one of the goals is to say that, we don't make changes at the school level and thereby increase class size. We need to maintain the class sizes that we've committed to and respect those guidelines. And as Ms. Diamond said, many of our Title I and Focus Elementaries are well below the 18 guideline. And one of the activities I do on a regular basis when I'm in school, as I was last week, is every room I go in, I count the number of students. And I think that's a good practice for all of us, because it gives you not only those numbers that you can look up at any time on our dashboards, anytime, and see exactly what they are in an elementary school, but it also helps us see on the ground what it actually looks like. But it is an area of concern, and we will certainly get the information back to the full board.
Ms. Morrell?
Yes, and when Dr. McKnight gets to the next slide.
Turn your light on, or somebody turn their light on.
We get to the next slide, Dr. McKnight, the slide will identify as based on additional growth. Here's the additional staffing we're requesting to maintain those class sizes and give the same kind of support we're giving now. It's on the next chart, that based on growth only.
We'll let her get there after the 2 questions board members have, Ms. Silvestri, and then we'll have Ms. Dixon talk.
At what point, let's take the 18 class size for Katie example. At what point over 18 is a new teacher assigned or allocated? 19, 20, 21, 25?
Yeah.
Go ahead, Ms.
So once we try to use guidelines as a starting point, keeping in mind that not all students turn up in nice little groups. So
Right.
when one class in a school goes over, we start monitoring, and you'll hear that we actually begin monitoring, and OSSI does a terrific job of doing this on a regular basis. So we can't allocate the minute it goes over, because what we've realized over time, and Dr. Statham has really worked hard on kind of looking at trends, that it's just as easy to go back down the next day and vice versa. So once we see 2 or 3 classes, we usually look for 3 in a school over by 1, we look to allocate. Our hope is that we would allocate at that point, but the things that we have to look for are, does that school have actual space to add a position? So sometimes what you'll hear Dr. Statham and her team talking about is if there's no space, should we and can we add other types of resources? I see Dr. Statham's back in the room, and she might actually want to come up and talk, because I didn't see she was here before. So I'll talk until she gets here and fill the
So
gap. But
that would
so
be
we look at the 3
classes in 1 grade level?
Yes.
3 classes in 1 grade level by 1 student. So we're not saying a class would go 3 over. Other times you have other situations that impact whether it can be allocated. So for example, in some of our schools where you maybe only have 1 section of a class or 2, when you allocate, let's say, a class of 18, and there's only 1 or 2, and you allocate a whole teacher, you're now starting to staff your classes at 9, 10, 11 students, and that becomes unsustainable in many, many ways. And so Dr. Statham and her team, and here she is, so I'm going to defer to her, will do other things with those resources. So I apologize, she walked back in the room and I missed her.
I'm here. So I don't want to repeat. Nikki was accurate. It does depend on how many classes are at a grade level. So if you've got 5 classes at a particular grade level and 3 of those classes are over guideline, then we do consider adding another teacher. We also, again, it's pretty complex because a lot of our schools, we may allocate an academic intervention teacher, a reading initiative teacher to lower the instructional groups, and you've heard me talk a lot about that over the years. So we want to make sure that the school has sufficient resources and that we are really adhering to the guidelines that you all have approved, and also explaining to people that it's not a cap, but it's a guideline. So, there's a lot of work that my team and I do to make sure that we adhere to those guidelines.
Ms. Dixon.
Right. I wanted to just follow up and ask Ms. O'Neill's question about the class size. And just, Pat, what did you have in mind in terms of that report? Did you want it by averages, or did you want it specifically by school?
I think it should be by school. I would appreciate it by school, and we have seen it before by school. I think that's important.
Okay.
Happy to provide it, yes.
And at the middle and high school level, did you want it by courses, all of the courses, or, kind of what are considered the major course subjects, English, math, social studies, and science?
Because we do, in our guidelines, we call out about math and English. So I think at the high school level, it would be important, to see the math and English, because I know, like, music, in some schools, the music is, much higher.
Right.
But the core courses at the high school level.
Right. Sure. I think that's a good way of asking for it, because it'll give you some specifics as opposed to averages. Thank you.
Dr. McKnight, you can continue.
Yep, I will continue. So we actually just talked a lot about enrollment changes and how it is really incumbent upon the system to have some really good projections and use those projections to figure out what type of staffing is needed at each level. As Ms. Diamond said, our students oftentimes don't arrive in the nice bundles of exactly what our class size limits are, and so we have to have lots of conversation about what's needed and other dynamics in a school that have to be considered into meeting, the guidelines, and also making sure that our students are getting what they need in the right environment. So what we see on this slide is a breakdown of enrollment changes at each level based on our projections. You'll see in this budget for elementary, we have $3.9 million projected, which is our biggest investment. So when you think about projections, you'll see we have lots of projected growth there, as then compared to high school being $3.1 million, and then middle school $2.1 million. You also see it broken down into, assistant principals, teachers, media specialists, paraeducators, counselors, lunch aides, all of those positions that are necessary to support what a school needs and teachers in the classroom. There was one thing I also wanted to say that came up through one of the questions, and I think it was from Ms. O'Neill. The guidelines that you set forth for class size are important, and Dr. Statham, she went back to her seat, but a big part of what we do to monitor that is the class overage and under report, and so that's a report that we do that holds us accountable to the conversation of looking at how we're monitoring that class size throughout the year. So that's something that we work with our schools very closely on to specifically avoid some of the things that you're talking about, making sure that we are not going outside of the guidelines, and if there's a situation that we need to discuss and talk about in terms of if there is more staffing needed, because there was growth that came, because this happens as well, sometimes growth that comes later in the year or outside of what we projected, which we had quite a bit to happen this year. Those are things that we have to have conversations about and consider what we have to do to make adjustments.
I know he was first.
Yeah,
Tinby.
I just quickly wanted to know what an English composition assistant is and what do they do in the schools?
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I haven't.
You have one at your school.
English composition.
Where is it? Is it under a different name?
Under high school.
Under high school.
Under high
Okay.
school.
Last
Dr.
one.
Smith.
And they are staff members, professional staff members who assist English teachers in the grading of papers and supporting student writing, because I can say as an English teacher
Yeah, no, I understand.
it's a different weight of responsibility when you are giving feedback and providing information and assistance to students of varying levels of skill as writers. And so they provide support to our English departments across our high schools.
Mrs. Spandrowski.
Yeah, so I'm not 100% sure if this is possible for you all to do, because I know some of it may have like a moving variable, if you will, but when you're looking at, or when you're giving us the numbers for students in classrooms, could we also get a feel for the adult student ratios? So for example, if a class is over or even close, it might have a full-time para, which would mean even though it's got a few more students than we would obviously like, we know what kind of supports are in there. And I know, like you said, with math and stuff like that, a lot of times it's in and out, and so it might not be a consistent, but if we could just get some sort of general feel for.
We'll look and see what we can actually provide that would be informative and accurate for the board. That has been an area of consternation for the system. The new student information system will help us tremendously have a better sense of this, because if you go back to the prior slide, go back about 2 slides right there, see? Go right up one more. If you notice up in red, it's talking about these teachers. In addition, there are 2,603 positions allocated to schools not shown, including. That's what you're talking about. There are lots and lots of teachers in special education services, ESOL services, lots of paraeducators and other kinds of specialists that go in and out of classrooms but are not the direct teacher of record.
Right.
So the other thing I do when I'm in classrooms, I count the adults. And I was surprised, frankly. Last week I was in a school and I was counting the adults, and there were a couple of classrooms I went into that only had 1 adult in the room and 16 or 17 students in each of these primary classrooms. I see many of our classrooms, and this is a good thing, with 2 or 3 adults in the classroom, either providing direct service to one child or service across all or much of the class, in addition to the teacher of record. So I think that's a fantastic question that you asked, because it helps us explain how that all fits in. You have literally thousands of people working in classrooms in this system who are not directly tied to that classroom as the teacher of record. The new student information system will allow us a much clearer picture of how that works. And when we report out class sizes, we can also report out then the number of adults supporting that classroom for how much time each day.
That would be great, because I know, especially like you mentioned with the special education and stuff like that, there's always parents like, is there enough adult supports in there? So it'll be really helpful to see that as well.
We will do what we can as we move forward with the new technology and the new digital tools. That'll be a much smoother and give us much more fine-grained information.
Mrs. O'Neill.
Yes, I know the issue of counselors, Ms. Wolf and I think Ms. Dixon both asked breakdowns, specifically about the number of counselors to the number of students and how we added 6 counselors, I think, half-time to the largest elementary schools. So it is important because we constantly hear about concerns about, so I'm just reiterating what my colleagues had already asked about the number of counselors to student ratio in the elementaries, because I think everybody is concerned about that. And then the lunchroom aides, it's really, it's a 0.6 in every elementary. Is it more based on enrollment? Because we hear concerns about recess. I mean, and not adequate.
Sure, so one of the things you'll find in the back of the budget book, but I'll review with you now, is English composition assistants and lunch hour assistants are based on a formula. For every group of students, an additional half hour of lunch hour time is provided. And so the larger school gets and grows, the more allocation is provided. Often because these are very short periods of time during the day, those will be hours that are added onto an existing employee's time. So you might have a paraeducator who's a 5 or 6 hour paraeducator, meaning they're in classrooms for 5 or 6 hours, and they might pick up an hour or an hour and a half or 2 hours of lunchtime to fill the gap. So they would, work in the morning, say, in a classroom, then they would work lunchtime in the lunchroom, and then they'd work in the afternoon. But they are allocated not at a set amount per school, but by enrollment.
I have a question.
All right,
Ms. Wolf, go ahead and go. You have to ask a question.
I want to understand, do you already know what school these counselors, lunch aides, media specialists are going to? Because, if you've got 0.6 for a position, then there must be a vacancy somewhere or a need somewhere. So how is that determined, and when is it determined?
So right now, when we do the budget, this is based on general projections. It's not until a bit later when we have a chance to really look at each school and have a better picture of exactly what's needed at each school that we're able to break that down and then make the assignments. We wouldn't want to do it too early, then we require there being lots of changes in the end. Is it still March where the schools receive their staff? First Friday. It used to be first Friday in March. I used to be Acceleration Day.
Yeah, so we're working very closely with our HR department because we're working to do some of our hiring earlier. And so schools actually are going to get notified through work with HR 2 weeks earlier than that, I believe. Mm-hmm. And then they'll get the formal memorandum with their upgraded grid the first week of March. So they'll know in advance we want to do that so we can get schedules organized for schools and get some hiring done earlier in the season.
Okay.
Were you done, Ms. Wolf?
I just had a follow-up, but go ahead.
I just wanted to say, and then that process doesn't stop
Right.
even well into the next school year. Constantly, just like with class size, constantly going back and revisiting, because you might, project for school A, we're going to need this many people. But if more students show up, we have to serve them. So we have to go back and be constantly adjusting that. And so sometimes it means that we're actually going through our budget and saying we're going to serve more students in this area, in this school, in this grade level. And so we're going to do less of this, whatever this is, as we think about it, because we have to serve the students. And so it is a constant reevaluation, reiteration of what we do with the staffing over that.
Now, I don't mean to be difficult, but I can understand that for teachers. But when you have 0.6 for a lunch aide and 0.5 for a media specialist, and you have 130 some odd elementary schools, I'm not understanding, and it's just a conceptual thing.
Yeah,
for
so
me.
let me clarify and bring together what Dr. Smith and Dr. McKnight shared with you, because while we don't know exactly and haven't confirmed which school each of these positions are going in, we didn't haphazardly get at the numbers. What we do is we take the projections that you see, they come out in the capital budget. We believe we know at this point what we think will be in each school, and we make assumptions using a formula to figure out what's going in each school. Now, we've realized over time that enrollment changes and they shift, and small shifts can impact staffing quite a bit. And so if we put out right now, yes, this school's getting 0.25 here, or a 0.1 there, or 1.0 there. No, 0.1, sorry, Dr. Smith. That just flew out. And then we find out, wow, their January numbers look very different than we originally anticipated. Then we have problems because they, in their minds, have already started to figure out how to fill those positions. So we use those November projections that you see in the capital budget as a starting point. Right. But Dr. McKnight was explaining that in addition to that, we monitor, as Dr. Smith said as well, very regularly between that November date and when our staffing goes out in the middle of February. We have new projections. We know that January brings with us a lot of changes. We have a lot of move into the community as well as move out. And so we reassess all of those numbers. And that's why when the superintendent comes to you in February, he will often have, and you'll recall last year, he had a very significant change in the enrollment projection. And that came from looking at what was happening in each of our schools in January and noticing some different trends than we had seen in the past. And so we make those adjustments. So Ms. Wolf, it is not that we don't have a sense of where the positions will go. Right now we have a sense based on what their current enrollment is and what the capital team has projected. We will make adjustments to that in the upcoming 2 to 4 weeks. And then Dr. Smith will potentially make adjustments to the overall budget when he comes to in February. And then the following 2 weeks from there is when we will roll those decisions out to schools. So by the time the board is meeting in the middle of February, we have new projections and we have some small adjustments usually, although last year was a pretty significant year. We had some large adjustments because we had some changes to the enrollment that we hadn't anticipated.
Thank you.
Dr. Smith.
So just for example, I'll give a little preview of this. Our September 30th enrollment was 165,237, I think. Right now, as of the first week in January, we're at 166,300 and some students. Just looked at it. So we're up 1,000 students from September 30th till the first week of January. So we're going to come back to you in the, we'll talk more about this in the next work session. We'll talk more about it at the board meeting on February 10th to say we want to look at our enrollment projections, because if we've gained 1,000 students from September 30th to January 1st, we can't work from an assumption that we're not going to gain many more in the next 6 months. And as I shared with you last summer, it was a bit shocking to us when we had about 1,800 students in this year's budget, and we gained, we had a net overall increase of 2,000 students over July, August, and September, which gave us an increase. Instead of 1,800, it gave us a net increase of 2,600. So it's just that constant looking at it that is so critical, because we have to serve the students. That's what it comes down to. We have to be willing to flex and move resources to do that.
Mr. Rowland, did you have a comment?
Yeah, just very quickly. And what this chart is conveying here is we're projecting an increase of 2,796 students next year. And when you talk about a lunch aid at 0.6, that's 1,200 hours to have a lunch support for those 2,700 schools. So it just relates 2,700 kids. So it just goes back to those kids. And the requirement for 2,700 kids is to have 1,200 hours of lunch support. So that's all this is trying to convey.
That was useful. Thank you. Mrs. Smodrowski.
Yep, so that's very helpful. I don't know if this is something that's even legal to do necessarily, but one of my big priorities for the budget this year is making sure, as Dan put it so eloquently earlier today, making sure that our equity is equitable. And along those lines, are we able to count volunteers, parent volunteers and stuff like that, just using the lunch aid thing as an example? So, because if I'm not mistaken, some of the lunch aid positions, and again, I'm just using that as an example because it's what we've been talking about, if they aren't necessarily needed at the playground, does the principal have some discretion as to utilize that time, that position for something else? Or are you following my train of thought here?
Yes, they can't just say you've been hired to be a lunch assistant, we want you to go in this classroom and be a paraeducator, because those are two different jobs with two different everything. But the principal can come back and say, given this amount of students that we have enrolled this year, we want to think about converting. So I don't have any space, and so I have a teacher position. I would like to convert that to two paraeducator or 3 paraeducator positions, those sorts of things. So that level of flexibility is a common conversation. When you talk about volunteers, one of the problems we have is that the system has not built a mechanism to have a clear picture of how much volunteering goes on in each school. We have big gross numbers,
Right.
but you'd need a very clear sense of if you're going to use volunteer to offset budget of positions. So I would be very hesitant to recommend doing that without a much clearer picture. It's kind of like what's in this budget around a fund to try to bring about more equity in opportunity for students in enrichment and experiential learning, field trips. That's in here.
Yeah.
Because of the difference in resources among communities. The volunteer might be a good next step to look at, but I don't think we're prepared to do that at this time with the level of specificity we would need to really make budgetary decisions for a school based on the number of volunteers that it has and what they do specifically for that school.
Right. Okay. I know some schools have a lot of parent support during the day and
Right.
others have
Many of them.
none.
That's
So
right.
if they could utilize the extra position or time, I would love to see that happen. I forget what else I was going to say about that, but, do they not track volunteer hours anymore? Like when I used to be in the schools a lot, we.
Schools track volunteer hours.
Okay. That's what I
But
thought.
the system has not
Right.
tracked them at that level of specificity.
Okay.
We try.
Yeah. Well, and then my last question was about, do we allow staff such as paraeducators or whatever, because I know that there are a lot of people who work like 0.6 as a para and then 0.2 as a lunch person or whatever else. Are they allowed to bundle their different positions to equal a full-time position so they would be considered a full-time employee? Or do we make them all long-term, part-time, or I mean, temporary, thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, they're definitely able to combine those positions, and like Dr. Smith said, especially if it doesn't require like a particular certification or anything like that, but they meet the requirements of it, they're able to bundle and make that a full-time position. And oftentimes that's a benefit to the school and to the principal to be able to do that, so that they're not out trying to find like, 0.4s or 0.2s and things like that is very hard to staff for. So I mean, that's a benefit to a school in a lot of ways to be able to do that.
Just wanted to ask, if you do bundle, or you have a lunch aide that's going to be a para, isn't there a pay differential?
Yes, it is.
Okay.
Yep.
There is a pay differential, however, in the contract, if a para has lost hours and they pick up lunch hours, the first hour of that is actually paid at their para rate for the first year if it is a loss of hours. If it is just gaining hours from the previous year, then it is paid at a separate rate.
Ms. Dixon.
Yeah, I wanted to just follow up with Ms. Wolf's question and just mention, because I hope that, also when I'm gone from the board, someone will pick this up, but the allocations that are given by staff, Diane Gomez, who I think does an excellent job with this, has for the last 3 years provided a list of all of the elementary schools and their allocations, and in alphabetical order, middle schools and high schools. And you can look and see very, very quickly, because one of the things I like to check if I hear that, a school doesn't have a media assistant or, where that is, to look at that. You can look at the paraeducators, the English composition assistants as well. You can see where cuts are made as well. And I think that that is a very useful instrument to have. And she does such an outstanding job at it. I don't think, Diane, have I come back to you in 3 years and asked a question about it? No, because she does just a great job with it. So just to let everybody know that that's available, and that would be available for you to look at, and you can see them.
Yep.
Yeah.
Great.
All right.
Dr. McKnight.
Okay.
Continue on.
So, and so before we go to this next slide, I just wanted to point out that while we just went over a number of things that were indicated by enrollment changes, it does not include things like grade additions to schools that are implementing like new grades over time, which gets at our next slide. So this year we opened up Snowden Farm Elementary School, and so one of the things that we have listed in our budget for 2021 is that they'll be adding a grade 5 to their school. So we have included an additional $360,800 $360,788 for their additional staff. Now there you see is 6.6 general education positions that are allocated specifically for that school, but that's broken down to a number of different positions. They're not all classroom teachers. Some are classroom teachers, counselor position, media positions, all of those things to accommodate the additional fifth graders that are coming in. And we are projected to receive 113 fifth graders at Snowden Farms in this coming year. So since that is a separate item that wasn't included in enrollment growth, we just wanted to share another slide to show how we were pulling that out specifically.
Great. Thank you.
All right. And the questions will move on. And
Just
so,
to be clear,
yes.
can I just ask you?
Sure.
And I think I understood what you said. This 6.6 is not in this 48.3 at the top. Teachers, yes.
Yeah, like for instance, you would not see them included in the 3.9 million on the page before
Okay,
that
that's what
included the element.
that's what I'm asking.
Yes.
Thank you.
They're not part of this,
Thank you.
they're not part of the 48 new teachers.
Yeah, that is correct.
You can proceed.
Okay.
Yeah, thank you.
All right, so moving on, this is a very small amount, but very important for us to just share. These are some budget changes that are here representing realignment of positions that just occur over time. And so the number of minor realignments that we've had in the system have resulted in $130,954. When we think about minor realignments, it could just be like a loss of a 0.2 teacher in one program and us needing another 0.2 teacher in another program. So we just realign the staffing. And so just to give you an idea of what realignment is, it's essentially just that. Not any significant changes, but there may be growth or changes that happen in one program that may say we need to pull from that one and we may see a need in another program. So make an adjustment there.
Question quickly about the last thing you were talking about.
Snowden Farms?
Yeah. We were just curious if why those positions aren't included in the new. Is it because they were budgeted for already in this year's budget?
No.
So how come we don't include them as part of the new?
Dr. Smith?
Historically, for some reason, Montgomery County has always separated out opening of new schools from enrollment growth. I've never been told this, but I would suspect it was because enrollment growth, new students, new grade level is not necessarily new students, it's students who are coming from other schools to that school. So they're not really actually necessarily new enrollment. They're students who are coming from other, typically those fifth graders would have gone to the schools that exist when Snowden Farm didn't exist. Now it does, and so there'll be some movement. If those schools have grown, and they probably have, they'll probably see no reduction, even though they're going to lose 113 fifth graders across the schools, primarily Wilson Wims. So Wilson Wims right now should, I would expect, have twice as many fifth graders as they have any other grade level, because they have all the fifth grade. Does that make sense? Yeah. And I see Sean McGee, the recent principal of Wilson Wims, nodding his head yes at me. So, and that's the way the system since I've been here, but for decades, I would imagine, has looked at new schools, because we're always adding new schools. It's all just ways of accounting for things.
It also lets us know what we did for them.
Turn your light on.
Yes, it does.
That way as well. Okay, sure. Any other questions about realignment?
Seeing no lights? Okay, continue. Thank you.
Okay, so the final slide that I'll talk about that's just kind of an overview of the school's K-12 budget is our key bodies of work as it relates to our strategic accelerators. So we just wanted to pull out some of the accelerators for you that you already know that we've been talking about at the board table that will continue to be priorities in our work. Like, for instance, the new curriculum implementation. Since we will be implementing our new curriculum in additional schools or the rest of our schools this year, that will be a big funding piece for us. We have also been talking about our investment on building a community school model with many other stakeholders to be involved in that. So you'll see that as another investment. And then we've been here at the table excitedly talking about other opportunities in high schools where we are increasing STEM opportunities, like at Seneca Valley. So, that's another investment for the system. And then the next one, converting the 25 athletic director positions to 12-month positions. That was a big investment for us as well, acknowledging that we want to be able to support and provide them the opportunity to provide another level of supervision to all of the activities that we implement in our schools, and just giving them a larger span of involvement over time in the work that happens in schools in that position, brought forth a great opportunity for us. And the other day, Dr. Smith and I had a chance to go actually and interact with them when they were giving out awards, and it was interesting to hear them just talk about how this is an opportunity they're very excited about and have been thinking about over time in terms of how they'll be able to this opportunity for them to be 12 months will allow them to do a lot more, and they're looking forward to that. So that's one. And then the final one that you see there is converting the 5 assistant school administrator positions to AP positions. This has been an ongoing conversation over the years. The goal is that, every year we make an investment to convert those ASA positions, which are not 12-month positions, into 12-month positions, which are AP positions. And as you know, the work of a school just does not stop. Although summer, there's this perception out there that oftentimes summer comes and school closes. School does not close. It doesn't happen. And so to have people who are there to continue to support summer school programs and other special programs that happen throughout the year are critical. So as time goes on, that will continue to be a piece that we include to convert the ASA positions to AP positions.
Mrs. Bodrowski.
Can you tell us how much the cost on the conversion of I think I already have the assistant school administrator positions, but on the athletic director positions?
Dr. Smith?
While they're looking at that number, I would just say this is one piece of many pieces around just providing more supervision across schools during the summer, after school, across activities and athletics. So there are multiple different approaches in this budget that look at making sure this happens, and making sure that our athletic directors are also available for even more flex time, because that is part of this also. And so it's a significant upgrade to our athletics and activities program to make sure that we have people year-round available all the time to support, supervise, monitor, help, and be specifically responsible for athletics and activities programs, because they literally do run year-round. I mean, all the time we have people in our schools engaged in these
And
programs.
I know that a lot of times they're there after hours and weekends or whatever as well. But I was just curious if there was because we don't have a specified amount on it.
I can give you, we have a net salary increase for this investment to be $60,675, and then there's an additional $7,730 for benefits. But this will also include us needing to make adjustments to make sure that none of the people who are moving to this position are experiencing a loss. Depending on the time they would have been in the position or other factors.
In stipends.
Okay.
And so the reason that you think about, wow, that's divided by 25 positions, why would it be so little? Keep in mind that our athletic directors already, they were working the regular 10-month schedule, plus they were working summer days, so they were all given a total amount, I believe 25 summer days, it might have been 30 summer days, and then they were paid additional time to come in and work on the schedules, and then they were provided a supplement above and beyond that because of all the extra work they had to do to be after school and all these other pieces. So we were able to, when you think about it, we no longer had to pay for the 30 summer days, we no longer had to pay extra money to bring them in to do the schedules, and we no longer needed to give a supplement because we no longer will be having the daily course load, and the schedules can be adjusted. So you take the increase in salary, but then you were able to take off all the additional pieces that they were paid to that are kind of being replaced by it. So that's why the amount is not as significant as just the increase in salary, because we no longer had to do some of those other pieces.
And I had one other question about strategic accelerators, but if one of you guys, I didn't know if you were had a follow-up on what we were just talking about.
Yeah, it was just to know whether the athletic directors are teaching. Right? Is that non-teaching?
That's not
Yeah.
teaching.
Yeah, well, that's the way it should be.
Yeah, it is, and this is a significant benefit to our athletic directors because all of the other things that Ms. Diamond just listed were not factored into their retirement system, and this will be. And so, as Dr. McKnight said, she and I were with all of them and all of their principals last week, and they were genuinely and, significantly appreciative of I was a little embarrassed because they were so they just said this has been a long time coming, we've needed this, and we appreciate that we're going to act on it in our system.
I can suggest too that they could do the school store in the high school.
Okay. Well,
Mr. Sullivan did that.
Talk to Mr. Sullivan about that for
We had
sure.
no money in that account, and by the time he left.
Nice.
I'm not
Nice.
surprised.
And then my only other thing, and you can give this to me at a different time if you want, but the additional $250,000 in other program expenditures for student enrichment, I was just curious what that specifically means. Does that mean the after-school programs? Does it mean things like Liberty's Promise and other groups like that that come in and support student?
Right, we have 250,000 listed for community schools. That's what.
Oh, that's so other student enrichment expenditures means the community schools.
In this case.
In this case.
Okay.
Okay. So you know the lights. You can proceed.
All right. So at this, I'm sorry. One other slide about alternative programs, excuse me. So wanted to give you an overview of our investment for alternative programs specifically. And in our alternative programs, as of December 2019, we are servicing 168 students in our programs. And you'll see it's very similar to the initial breakdown that I shared with you, but 97% of the budgeted amount for alternative programs are dedicated to salaries and wages. And you'll see the other categories that we talked about earlier: contractual services, supplies and materials, equipment, and other. Just to give an example again of what other represents in this category, it would be student transportation would be one. We look at, it's for the supplies and materials, it's the same things that we would do in our comprehensive schools, office materials, textbooks, media, books and things like that. So very similar to what we would do in the comprehensive schools in terms of exactly what's listed in each of the categories. But this is a makeup of the investment for alternative schools specifically.
Just those three.
All right, so if there are no other questions, we will move on to the next part of Chapter 1, which covers investments in Chapter 1 for our ESOL students. So, and there she is. Ms. Hazel is already at the table, so I'll welcome Ms. Hazel to the table.
Mr. Merle, do you have a
Yeah,
comment?
I just want to add something here that Dr. Smith and I discussed earlier today. The way the budget is oriented is we separated out by accelerators, and we had, additional increases for additional students. There's a variety of number of ways to add these up, but I want to give you just a quick update on, if you look at like ESOL in total, you won't see at any place in the budget that we're asking for 67 additional FTE in total. You'll see 34 in Chapter 1 and 30 somewhere else. I want to make sure that you guys have the full picture. So when we talk about ESOL, we're requesting 67 FTE, not just the 64 identified here, or the 30, whatever we have, the 33, 34. It's a total of 67. Within the pre-K, we're asking for a total of 21 FTE. In the special education realm, we're asking for a total of 136 FTE. And to get to those numbers, you have to peruse through all of the chapters. So we just want to give you like a real scope. The large, or what we're asking for in total, is not just what you're seeing in Chapter 1. It's throughout the budget. So when you're talking about ESOL, you're looking for 67 FTE for all categories of spending.
Yes, so I'm just going to speak about ESOL teachers today. So all of the counselors and bilingual assessment team, those individuals will come on another day in another chapter.
But they're real.
But they exist, they're real, yes. So in terms of our ESOL budget, we are looking at 64.4 million. Much of that, almost all of it, comes from salaries and wages. And so you can see the positions there, and then the non-positions would be your temporary part-time individuals. And so just to get into some of what Dan was speaking of, we have one position that will be a realignment from an ESOL resource teacher position to an ESOL teacher position. And then we have 37.8 ESOL teacher positions and additional substitutes. And that is for just growth. We had about 1,700 more ESOL students come in to the school year, and so we are projecting that growth. Okay, and then in terms of our accelerator, so on top of that, we also want to increase our ESOL teacher positions to 26.2, just to continue to address the number of students that are coming in, provide additional supports in the classroom, reduce some of those numbers, and also support our Title I schools as well. And also our, as we've talked about, our high school programs. We want to make sure that we are supporting our secondary programs as they're really trying to increase their efforts. Okay. Are there any questions around the ESOL staffing at the classroom level?
Ms. Silvestri?
School level?
So that adds up to 64.
Plus the one of the realignment is 65.
You mentioned 67.
There's 64 we came up with, and then chapter 6 is it? There's 3 additional of the BAT program.
Bilingual.
The team that came with the T-shirts to that evening.
Okay.
There's 3 additional resources there that brings you to the 67.
Okay.
System-wide.
And the ESOL director position?
So I'll talk about that next week.
Okay.
That's in the OSET budget.
Thank you.
Any other questions?
Total teachers.
Well, 67. 64 teachers and then the 3 bilingual assessment team. Any other questions? For ESOL? Yes.
Just a question, Nikki, I don't know if you could answer it at this time or whether that's for next week, but I'm interested in just having kind of a little update on what the relationship is in schools, specifically the middle school and the high school as well, between the ESOL teachers and the English department teachers. How does that all work? I mean, do they meet together?
Yes.
Or, is it a separate thing?
So that's a great question. I'm sure many schools had those 2 teacher groups meeting together, but we really made a huge effort this school year to bring together our ESOL teachers and our English teachers and our resource teachers. They meet together now every month when they meet with our team. And so we are, from here on out, providing all of our professional development together so that we can roll out, for example, at the middle school level, the Study Sync curriculum. We want to make sure our ESOL teachers know the standards, the English standards, and we also want to make sure our English teachers know the teaching practices that are best fit for our ESOL students. And so they're working together, and when we roll out our professional learning in the spring and summertime, our plan is for them to be together.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Dixon. Ms. Silvestri?
Is the additional 26, is that to support your restructuring or not there yet?
The restructuring for the high school, it's some of it will be to support those numbers. We also shared that we switched our ESOL levels. So we are now currently ESOL levels 1 through 5, and we'll shift to 1 through 4, which puts some of our students in a different ESOL level. So it might have been a 4, and now they might be a 3, or a 3, now they might be a 2 for next school year. So the staffing will adjust based on the ESOL levels of our students. So some of it will be for that. In addition, we just want to make sure that we are providing enough support for our elementary students as well.
And then in the budget book, when you talk about ESOL bilingual program enrollment and staffing, I see a decrease projected for FY21 in elementary, middle, and high school, and I just wanted to understand why we're projecting significantly smaller number of ESOL students in each level.
We've been having an increase, so I'm not sure. We'll have to.
What document are you referencing this?
There's
at the
no
bottom.
pages.
They'll say bottom like 1-30.
1-34.
And I don't know if that includes like our
Chapter
pre-K or our level 10s.
At the very bottom. Chapter 1.
You said 1-30?
1-34. Or just understand that last column. Maybe I'm just not reading it.
Yeah, that's showing. Can you say which one it was again? I'm sorry, Ms.
What does that
Alessio.
last column mean? The FY21-20?
Isn't that a net between 20 and 21?
That's the difference.
Just the net, okay.
So it was,
Nuts and non-nuts.
right, and so the difference is based on budgeted. As you receive the updated version of this is all based on budgeted to budgeted. I'm sorry, but you will receive an updated version based on actuals as we look at more actuals to actuals. And so this number will shift based on those numbers. So for example, this year alone, we had a budgeted number, and we went above the budgeted number. As you heard earlier, the superintendent released additional staffing for ESOL based on the increases that we had in the first couple of months of schools. So this right now looks as budgeted to budgeted, but you will actually receive version 3 of this book that will be actual to budgeted. And if you look at last year's final document, it will show the actual to actual and will show the change.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, this shows 1,069 additional middle school students who are not in METS. And this has to do with budget to actual, but it also has to do with progression through grade levels. And so we'll have to continue to, it's once again, constant reiterations of the students. But what you see is an increase in 2019 from 609 total teachers to an increase in 2021 to 711 teachers. So you're looking at more than 100 teachers across that time period.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Hazelton. You can continue.
Okay. So now when we get into our pre-K Head Start, we have their salaries and wages of $24.1 million, and you can see the breakdown there with Title I grants at $12.2 million, Head Start grants 1.5, and pre-K Head Start at 10.4. Again, 100% salaries and wages. And you can just see here in terms of our strategic accelerators, an increase for our pre-K positions. We want to convert positions from half-day to full-day. Those are teacher positions, and then we have paraeducator positions as well, 10.25 from half-day to full-day. Are there any questions?
I think it would be important just to share with the board and more importantly the community, most of the work we've done in the past 3 years around pre-K has been the conversion of half-day to full-day.
Yes.
And one of the elements of the Blueprint for Maryland's Future is the idea that they are funding and supporting full-day pre-K. There is no support whatsoever in Maryland's blueprint, the Blueprint for Maryland's Future around half-day pre-K. And in fact, if you remember the bill when it came out last year, many school systems hadn't made that distinction. They all came out with zeros, and my hair stood on end, and I said, how can we have zero? So we've really made a great effort over the last 3 years to not only convert half-day to full-day, but to do a better job of knowing which children are in half-day and which children are in full-day. And we need to get to know half-day pre-K. We really do, in terms of supporting our students across the system as we move toward much broader pre-K support and service for kids.
And I'll also just share that since 2017, we added an additional 20 seats for pre-K expansion through the grant, and then another 20 seats in 2018-19 at Arcola, actually 40 seats, and then another 40 seats in 2019-2020, this school year, with the Up County Center. And so we are at 1,000 additional seats for ESOL. I'm sorry, pre-K. Yeah.
I'm trying to find it here, but I saw we're about a third at full day now and still have about 2/3 that are still half day. Is that correct?
That
seems right.
Yeah.
We still have ways to
We
go.
have a long way to go. And we have a very large number of students who don't meet the very rigid qualification, but would benefit tremendously from pre-K across our school system.
Okay, so I didn't see the order of the lights, if you all.
Oh,
Doesn't matter to me.
Okay.
Ms. Monroe. Oh, Ms. Willis?
I have a quick question. Can I get a listing of the schools that have half-day versus full-day?
Yes, we will
Thank
send
you.
that to you.
Mrs. Mondrowski?
And I guess the additional 11.5 positions is based, because I was thinking we were doing 2 half-days in a day.
The
Right.
morning and the afternoon.
Right, a
morning
morning and
and
afternoon
Mhm.
program.
We just-
So I guess that would move, okay, I get it. I don't know if this is for here today or for next week, but I had a question about the PEP thing. Is that?
That will come when Kevin's.
Okay, the 5 to 6 hours thing? Okay, thanks.
All right, so you can continue.
Thank you.
Oh, thank you so much. Okay. And now we will welcome Mr. Lowndes to the table. They're ready for you with questions already?
You need to start right there.
Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Good to see everyone here today. I'm going to talk a little bit about the special education budget, and I just want to remind folks here before I begin is that, we're responsible from birth to 21, but our staffing, unlike most programs that are in Chapter 1, is not all represented in Chapter 1, and that's because our infants and toddlers teachers and their service providers will be in Chapter 5 when I come back. And so these are the teachers and the supports when we look at our programs from pre-K till 21. So the majority of our money that we have budgeted is for growth. We are still continuing to grow at a very fast pace, and when you look at the percentage of our growth in special education and compare it to the percentage of growth of the system as a whole, we are outpacing it. And many of our programs that we're growing in are some of our programs with our students that need the most support. And so they have a small teacher to student ratio, and they have plenty of service providers that they need, speech language, OTs, PTs. And so, when we look at some programs, you just gotta have to remember that, it not only is it growth within the teachers, but it's growth within all the service providers. And I'm very happy that this year's budget reflects the service provider growth than the growth of those programs. So I want to start with 96%, very, very similar to the overall system. 96% of our budget is in salaries. But unlike the system, when you look at others, other in special education is benefits. Because many of our positions can be grant funded, and when positions are grant funded, we have to provide benefits on the local side. And so when we look at the other within special education, you're usually looking at grant-funded benefits. In contractual services, we do have to reach out and hire some speech pathologists, some OTs, some PTs, and some other services that, because of the shortages in these areas, or when someone goes out and they're not able to, out on leave or something, by law, we still have to provide these services. And so we have to go out and we have to contract places and people to come in. And the other thing that we provide services is for nursing. So if we have a student that needs a nurse during the school day, then we have to go out and get a nursing agency to come in and provide that services during the school day. Any questions on the overall budget? I'm going to go more deeply as we move on.
You can continue. Thank you.
So the other, so the piece that I really want to highlight here is because I know Superintendent hears quite a bit about it when he goes out. I know the board hears quite a bit about it. When we look at the increase in special education para positions, 44 of those positions are changing to critical staffing, permanent critical staffing positions. And I know you're constantly hearing, why do we have all these TPT positions? Can't more of them be permanent? And so we are making an effort this year to look out and add some more permanent positions within that critical staffing. Teachers' positions, I talked a little bit about the growth. We were very fortunate last year when we got that Kerwin funding that allowed us to get 88 additional positions, where we put the majority of them, 79 actually out of the 8, in our elementary schools to work on the homeschool models and to get some of those balancing correctly. It's difficult sometimes within elementary when you look at providing teachers for services and you look at the services hours, they don't always balance out in elementary perfectly within first grade, second grade, third grade, and fourth grade. And so this helped us get some more staffing to the elementaries to be able to provide some services in the elementary schools. And so that Kerwin funding, we are continuing it in next year's budget, and that will continue to fund those positions that funded this year. And so when we talk about the additional positions, we're talking about above and beyond the positions we funded last year. So we'll be adding 45 new special education teachers, 76 paraeducation, then the speech pathologists and all the other service providers. The other thing that we're doing is we're adding some more, some money into it for our critical staffing. One of the things that we've seen this year is we're getting an increase of students that have more intense needs, and the parents want to stay in their home schools, and as a result, we're providing more critical staffing to the home schools to help them with those students within the general education setting. And so we are adding some more money for that.
Mrs. Smardowski,
Yeah, my question on that is that enough? And I know that I've been told there's been a struggle to find, fully qualified special education teachers. And so sometimes we're having to train general education teachers to do that. Are we providing enough supports to make that kind of advancement in a person's specialty, if that's...
So we continue to provide trainings for everyone on quite a few things. And some of the things, so 2 focus areas right now, for example, this year is when you look at the Orton-Gillingham training that we're providing because of the foundational reading skills and partnering up with the curriculum office and the lack of training that teachers have come out with to really understand how to make the sounds. And we're getting great feedback on that. And the other area that we're getting a lot of ask of help and support from the schools is with behavior. And trainings, and we're adding more and more trainings to help gen ed teachers and special ed teachers and paraeducators. I was out visiting a new principal today who said, we need to continue to offer these trainings to our teachers and our paraeducators. I had some paraeducators that went to Turn Down the Heat training this summer, which provides de-escalation skills and way to talk to students that are acting out. And it's been unbelievable, the results that we've had as far as kind of de-escalating some behaviors that in the past they weren't able to necessarily help out with. And so we'll continue to provide that training. We have it in the budget. We have it is a priority for our department. And so we understand that not everyone has it yet. And that's a priority for us to get people there.
I know when the person's unqualified, it puts a strain on their own mental wellness and health and their colleagues and the students first and foremost. So I'm just concerned that we're investing enough to make sure that we're giving people the most training that we
Right.
possibly can to make sure.
The professional development that Mr. Lowndes speaks of is critically important. The other part of this is the foundational credentialing, so that whether it's a person with a regular education credential and a degree in elementary education or in social studies, or a person with a degree in another area who wants to join this career and has had another career or different educational experience, we are continuing to expand our programs available right here in the school system at Montgomery College and at USG to make sure those people can complete that credential and move from that conditional contract, that provisional certification within the first 2 years, and certainly within the renewal of that 2-year certificate. So they're very tight requirements around that. So if a person doesn't complete certain requirements in the first 2 years of that credential, they can't continue. If they complete those requirements, they can continue, but if they don't complete in 4 years, then they can't be engaged in Maryland as a teacher any longer. So it's both levels, both the foundational credentialing and the ongoing increasing of expertise and skill of all of our educational professionals across the system.
And with those new teachers, the provisionally certified teachers, and with the brand new teachers, we've developed cohorts this year. We put money in the budget to have some after-school professional development and just time for them to get together, because in going around talking to folks, one of the reasons why teachers in special education leave is because they feel isolated in their buildings.
Right.
And so some of the practices that are out there that are keeping people in special education really are building these cohorts and giving them time to come together after school and talk to other people that are in the same situation, but also work on some professional development from folks from my office that are going to these professional learning opportunities. I will say that, having the provisional certification has been a great asset to the system. I mean, I've gone out and I've heard a lot of positives from schools. I've heard for a situation that we have at a high school where someone left as a lawyer and is now teaching Algebra 1 in special education and coaching. He's doing a fantastic job. Heard the other situation where we have quite a few paraeducators that are now teachers, and they're really thriving in the business, and they already know what the students need and what type of helps and supports. And so I think it's been a great opportunity for us to really go out and recruit some folks that we wouldn't have had. And I often have to remind folks, if we didn't have the provisional certification, it would be a long-term sub in that position or a daily sub in that position.
Yeah.
And so I think we're much better off going that route and then providing the supports that they need than if we didn't go that route.
Now, I completely agree. This seems like a very worth the bang for the buck type of investment, and I just want to make sure, that we have enough in that area. It's very stressful for somebody who doesn't know what they're doing to be in a special.
Believe me, the most difficult phone call is to have someone call and say, I have an opening, I am not able to find somebody. I mean, and then once again, just the growth that the service providers, many people think of growth as just teachers, and within special education, growth is also service providers. Realignment, so once again, we did do some realignment, and we want it reflected in the budget. So one of the things that we heard quite a bit was our teachers in all alternative learning outcomes were having a difficult time converting the new curriculum in a way that their students could understand it and benefit from it. And so we took a position that was a 0.5 already in our office, combined with another 0.5 from Chapter 1, and they're focused in on helping students focus on like the LF Learning for Independent students, school community-based students, and students that are using the curriculum of the general education but need to modify it for the alternative learning outcomes. And so they need to be able to know what the state standards are, how that curriculum aligns to the state standards, and then how can they modify that curriculum to help meet the students' needs that they're teaching. And so that 0.5 is aligned to help those teachers. And the other one is, once again, the critical staffing. We had to realign some contractual services that we had in Chapter 5 and bring it down and put it to help us with TPT to keep up with the needs that are going on in the school. So Ms. Rondrowski. So here's our key bodies of work, our accelerators. So the first one is, we are continuing down a pathway to get all of our preschool programs to be 5 days in full day. And many of them are not still. So we still have quite a few that meet only 2 days a week for 2.5 hours. And we have others that meet 5 days a week, but less than a full day. And so we continually look at how can we get to the next group of programs to get it to full time. And so here's a program that we have, a 5-hour PEP program where our teachers are paid full time and they're in the building full time, but the students are there for 5 hours. And so by adding some more hours to the paraeducators, and then adding some sub time for the teachers because they wouldn't be able to do the IEP work during that extra hour, they're doing it now. But none of our teachers get that. None of our teachers that work full time get that. They all use sub days, and so we would provide the sub days like we do with all other teachers in the system. And then we would allow or have those students go from 5 hours to full day. They'd add another hour to their day in these 5-hour PEP programs. Now, I will say that we also have programs such as the classic autism program that is currently 5 days a week for 6 hours with students that have just as many needs as the students within this 5-hour program. The reason why this program was developed was so at one time, Montgomery County didn't have this group of students in their continuous services within Montgomery County Public Schools. And we were sending and paying for these students to go to a non-public for their preschool program. And I just saw the memo because I wanted to refresh myself, but Pat, you were probably part of the discussion. And so in order to bring back these students, we ended up mirroring a non-public where most of these students were going and marrying the PEP program just as if it was offering those same services at the non-public that these students were currently going to. Now, the students did come back, and that non-public did end up eventually closing because Montgomery County did such a good job of providing the services that they were also getting in that non-public. And so Montgomery County Public Schools was able to widen the continuum of services within pre-K. And that's kind of the history around why that 5-hour program existed eventually in the beginning.
And we just think that the extra hour will improve their, we just heard a lot of testimony about concerns about the kids being tired or all that kind of stuff. I just didn't know if you had any thoughts on that.
So my thought is that it gives us an extra hour a day with the students, so that gives you 5 hours extra a week, and it gives you so many hours extra a year. Right. That I do think that we provide a great service. Our teachers do a great job in these programs. The paraeducators do a great job in these programs, and that it can only benefit students being with us longer. The other thing it does is for transportation purposes, it has all the buses going to the schools at one time. And so right now they have different buses at different routes coming and going out of some of these schools. And then the other accelerators, so the bottom bullet, I just wanted to highlight, that is the new requirement with anyone that's getting restraint seclusion training also has to have CPR and first aid training. And so we are putting some money in the budget to make sure that we are funding that. We funded it this year, we found it from other places, but we put it in the budget. And the last, the middle budget, so the structured literacy, that's for, right now we're using it for substitutes for Orton Gillingham. We are in the process of, we're having a work group look at, currently, should we continue with the provider that we have now? We're spending a lot of money on that provider. Should we be looking at another way? And we are looking at going through an RFP and submitting, coming to you and discussing that down the road. Okay. So that's why we have it as structured literacy, but it is the currently being done through the Orton Gillingham training.
Okay.
So I didn't jump in on the pre-K, but yes, I do remember when we brought everyone back into MCPS, the sky was falling and, we were terrible people and we had many people show up at our hearings and, I think it was the right thing to do. Sometimes change is hard. It did strike me, that in pre-K, I taught 4-year-olds, and we had extended day, and, we ended at 12:30, but then we had extended day. And our kindergarten teachers think about, front-loading more intensely in the early part of the day rather than in the afternoon. I am sympathetic, having been around children a lot, even adults, we kind of become weary in the afternoon. But it is interesting about that 1 hour, the teachers, you're going to a substitute or substitute time for doing the IEPs. And, I don't want to comment, but, and I'm sure some will take it the wrong way, but it's also about the adult loss of that hour, in this process, as well as adding more time for the kids. So, but I am sympathetic about children becoming more tired in a 6-hour program, especially children who may be fragile.
Right.
So I don't see any other lights.
Other questions?
Yeah, sure. We're at the.
I have a question.
Are we at the end, Kevin? Were you finished?
We are at the
With
end.
discussion, right? So what we'll do, we'll just go on around the table.
Oh, okay.
Dr.
Are we
Daka?
done with special ed?
I believe we are. Were you? But you can sit right here because they may you can stay because their comments could be for you. Dr. Daka?
I think a number of us attended the de-escalation program last
We did.
summer, and I just wanted to say that it was wonderful, and we learned a lot. And there's some of the things in there regular class teachers need to have some knowledge of.
Yes.
So, thank you.
Thank you.
Ms. Silvestri?
Yeah, I forgot to ask these questions about the strategic accelerators. You listed the new curriculum implementation. Is that just purchasing additional curriculum, or what is that?
It's purchasing additional curriculum. It is professional development for teachers for the implementation of the curriculum. Materials management.
Combination.
Yeah,
Okay.
combination of all of those things.
And the community schools funding, that's for a coordinator and for the innovation fund?
I'm sorry, can you read?
Community schools,
All right, so
what's
what
in the
is it?
budget for community schools?
So we have just set aside that money for planning purposes of what we need to do for planning for community schools. So that may include time that we need for others to collaborate around. Oh, sorry. Thank you. Just all the work that we would do when we get ready to pilot anything, I guess. It would be time to include others to involve in all of the planning that's required to do that. Anything else?
Yeah, examinations of models,
Yes.
working with consultants, all of the
Traveling.
travel potentially. We really want to look, there are a lot of different models around community schools and a lot of conversation. And in some ways in the country, it's become one of those words that means everything, so nobody really knows what it means. And we want to look at it in the context of Montgomery County Public Schools and the communities that we serve. How should a community school be constructed with those extended and wraparound services that a school needs? And I think at some point the conversation has to go to how does this intersect with the innovative calendar year schools? And how, because clearly schools that have longer school years same children would benefit from more increased intensive services located at or near their school. And so all of those things we'll spend between now and next November studying. And then in the FY22 budget, you should expect to see a budget proposal around a pilot of a small set of schools that will move to this sort of work.
But I believe we got some money from the state last year to hire a coordinator for
Yeah,
the schools.
the Blueprint for Maryland's Future provided 8 schools to have health services and a community school coordinator in their school, and we'll certainly look at that and where any legislation that's passed this session is directing us and how that is being envisioned in the state, because they're part of the state's work around the Blueprint for Maryland's Future and the coming, it hasn't been dropped yet, is the expression in Annapolis, so we haven't seen it, and then it'll go through all of the rewrites and the iteration and the hearings and the amendments. But what is actually passed, assuming the law is passed by April 8th at midnight, would also inform that same work. So you have a very small effort on the part of the state to start this conversation. We think we should accelerate that effort and begin moving forward, and you know, knock on wood or whatever, I hope and think the legislation will be passed. Even if the legislation isn't passed and this small amount of money that came through the Blueprint for Maryland's Future goes away, because it will go away after FY21 unless there's legislation that extends it and expands it, that we should be doing this ourselves, because this is one of the key strategies around creating a more equitable environment for all children. And so we need to do this in Montgomery County apart from whatever the state does, and I hope the state does a lot. So.
And the Innovation Fund, is that tied to community schools, and how do you see that?
The Innovation Fund is a variety of different work, and some of that work is schools looking at how they can create pilots and opportunities for students, and helping students get greater access, get greater levels of achievement and learning. And so that certainly would be whatever comes out of those innovation activities would be part of what we would continue to look at. If it's successful, how do we expand this across all elementaries, or across all of the elementaries of this profile and those sorts of things.
Okay. Finally, could you say more about the high school coding program that's in the budget?
Sure. I'm going to defer to Dr. McKnight, because she's been working specifically with that initiative, and I have not, but.
Sure. So the high school coding effort, and actually it's just high school, but we're actually looking at a coding effort to expand to expand our summer coding program for middle school students as well, and looking for opportunities to include coding for elementary. But the goal is to be able to have students participating in coding experiences that prepare them for the opportunity to do coding activities that contribute to the community in a larger perspective, meaning creating design apps and things like that when they get into high school. And we're doing much of that work in partnership with the county government and Montgomery College. And so for our course, we're focusing on coursework opportunities within our high schools to do that. For middle schools, last year we launched our first coding camp during the summer for middle school students, and we serviced 300 students. This summer we are working in partnership with the county government and Montgomery College to serve 1,000 students in the coding camp that we have for middle school students. So the goal is to look at the trajectory of how we're providing these experiences for students, thinking about where there are opportunities in elementary, middle, and then including it specifically in coursework in high school in partnership with, like I said, Montgomery County and county government, because the goal is that we ultimately have our students designing, again, these apps and programs that can actually be used to support vendors and others in our community, in county government and local businesses and things like that.
So built into high school courses,
Yep.
such as
The specific.
which courses might lend themselves to this insertion of coding?
So we will be designing some specific courses. If we are looking at, do we have specific courses now that we're looking to introduce it into, or are we talking about designing more specifically?
Yeah, and expanding potentially the concept of the P-TECH schools.
Get you
P-TECH.
come to the table.
Potential.
What is
Come
that?
to the table.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. So as Dr. McKnight mentioned, that expansion from not just the summer camps, but the elementary, middle, and high school could expand some opportunities and conversations that we've been having with partners like MC to maybe expand the concept of a technology-focused school, even as large as a school, going just beyond not solely courses. The P-TECH school program at Clarksville, at Clarksburg, provides a series of courses that lead to certification opportunities for students. But one of the things that the team is thinking through is an opportunity to just think about the dynamics of providing a full concept of a full IT-focused high school, and that would have multiple pathways, including coding.
And I'll add that we are reimagining what that could look like with our partners. And this is an investment that will happen over time. But we are working very closely with, like I said, county government and Montgomery College to help us reimagine what this looks like with some other business partners.
Okay. I just want to put a plug in for equitable access to these programs, so that we're making sure that all kinds of kids have access to this type of program.
I am so glad you brought that up, because that is an investment and actually a focus for many of our programs. So we will be doing specific outreach. This summer we'll talk with the board a little bit more about that, but specific outreach for our middle school program, specifically thinking about how we're getting them prepared for the high school experience that we're building. And we are looking to do outreach in schools where we know there will be a need, while also expanding the opportunity to others within the system. So that will be a priority of ours. Thank you. Absolutely, but we'll actually come back and give a full update on that whole initiative and the development of it.
That would be great. Thank you. Mr. Tinby.
I have no questions at the moment. Thank you, staff, for putting this together.
Ms. Dixon.
So this is the time for all of our questions, or? Yeah, okay. So I wanted to just start by thanking Dan Morella for introducing the folks who worked on this chapter of the budget. I do think it's important for, the larger community to know the people who work in the central office as well as they do, the ones who work in schools. And so, that was great for you to do that. I did want to also follow up on that book that Diane puts together, which I didn't mention, but it's something I keep from year to year, and usually get it right after the principals get their allocations, just so everybody knows this. But you can look and see as well from year to year very quickly with that, what's been cut, what's been added to. And I think that's an important piece in our role, in terms of oversight. So once again, I would urge colleagues, to take a look at that, or somebody to pick that up as we go forward. The other question that I had was the questions that we've already asked. Do we know when we will get responses to those? I think some were asked at the hearings.
Yeah, the drafts from questions from the hearings are actually being finalized. So those you should have within the coming days, I would say.
They're finalized.
Yeah, they're in final clearance right now. So so that you should have. In terms of the ones that have been put out today, we'll work to get those turned around within a week or so.
Okay, all right. Because I think it's important for us to have those, soon.
Absolutely.
The other piece I had a question for Kevin. Do we know how many students have one-on-one para support for special education?
So I'll get you the exact number, but yes, we do have a spreadsheet showing us how many students
Is it
have
significant? Do you remember off the top of your head? Or
I don't want to say one way. So I will. It's gone up the last couple of years. So I'll try to get you trends to show you kind of the direction that we're going.
Okay.
And that plus with total numbers.
Okay. So check.
Before we go on, Kevin, can we show that like over 5 years and show it by elementary, middle, and high school, and show it by maybe program? That way you really can see kind of what the overall picture is, okay?
Right.
Thanks.
Okay. Right. And then just one final comment. I want to commend Dan on his presentation today. The first time doing this budget thing with the board. And Pat O'Neill, this must be her 20th operating budget that she's sat through, deserves a medal for all this. But a gentle suggestion would be for you about the money. Could you say specifically, when you say what the figures are, exactly what it is as opposed to about?
Okay.
Yeah, I know that's in the federal government, they have a lot more money, so, it's huge. But I think for us, those thousands of dollars that are at the end is important, because all that money adds up to the 2.8 billion. So that's just, like I said, a gentle suggestion.
I appreciate that.
Okay,
Thank you.
Great, thank you.
Mrs. Mondrowski.
Yep, thank you. So I may have a couple questions that I'll come back to next week, if that's okay, even though it will be past this chapter. But mostly, anything about that would mostly be in the strategic accelerators category. I was pleased to see that we've included additional $265,000 for extracurricular activity stipends. I've asked you for a list of stipends for each school and what the money is used for. And I think, oh, did it come in yesterday? No. Oh, I haven't been back to the office yet, so sorry about that. But so funding for the STEM/STEAM programs, particularly at some of our high needs schools. I know that we've heard from a couple of our elementary schools, and I guess it was really just boiled down to a staffing allowance, right? For like this, at like our, what's that?
Turn your light on.
Last year, there was a reduction of 11 schools that had special program funding.
Correct.
And that was done away with.
I thought we brought it back, though, or at least said we were going to,
It wasn't
waiting
in
a
the
year
adopted budget.
to look at it.
Dr. Smith.
We have continued to look at it, but one of the practices that we really need to get in the habit of doing is look at the equitable allocation of programs across the system.
Yeah.
Because when things were added a decade, 2 decades ago, and they just persist in the budget, and then other things are added on top, and other things are added on top. I mean, worst case scenario, a single school would not be in any of those special allocations. Best case scenario, there might have been 4 of them, and you'd wind up in all 4 of them. So one of the things that the folks in OSSI and curriculum have worked together to do is look across the system and say, are we allocating these additional resources in an equitable way, and where the greatest need is, and those sorts of things. So that was that effort last year about thinking about where those are, and then making sure that we're doing it in a systematic way, and that we've built in a regular review of that, because we all know once something is provided, it's very difficult to take it back.
Yes.
And that's really, I mean, no matter what we're talking about, there is a provision and there is a loss in all of these conversations, whether we're talking about 5-hour PEP, or we're talking about a special program at a specific set of elementary schools, or a language program. So the staff has worked hard to look at that between the school support and the curriculum and the special ed office, early childhood, student services, to think, are we really providing this money? Because while $2.8 billion is a tremendous amount of money, at the end of the day, it equates to about $16,800 per student. And when I was watching the alternative pathways discussion earlier, and it's about $3 million. I just took 16,000 times 168 students that we're serving right now, and that gets you to about $2.7 million. So the students we're serving there are getting slightly more than that $16,000 average, as they need to. There's a reason why they're being served in that way in those schools, and so we have to think about that, of providing that level of support that a child needs across our system, whether it's in elementary, middle, or high school. And so that was that particular conversation from last year.
And can I add one thing to that, Ms. Vondrowski? Added on to what Dr. Smith was saying, we've met with a number of our partners to really just kind of think about what that need is and making sure we have that investment starting from elementary all the way through high school. And so earlier this year, we met with the American Association for Advancement of Science, who are many retired volunteers. And so they have been very, very great partners in coming in and filling in some of those gaps and opportunities to provide the STEM activities for our students. And they were able to give us an overall just kind of report of how it's going at the elementary, middle, and high school level. So, and as we look at that, we constantly look at the schools and, in which they are going out and volunteering and thinking about where we can expand those opportunities. So they've been great partners in.
That's really
that
nice
work
to
as
hear.
well.
And I am really glad that we're looking at that kind of thing routinely now, because like you said, it would be a shame to have programs in place that are no longer really productive or whatever and not get rid of them just because they've always been there. But it does worry me a little bit in terms of taking, particularly from some of our higher needs schools, away programs that students and parents are advocating were important to them. So I'm just not sure how we judge like what's a good program versus, something that we could switch it up for maybe. So, but I just wanted to bring that up. And then I had a question about if I could get some sort of information about the funding for the skillful teacher program. And I know that it used to serve paras as well as teachers. I guess they used to have 50 programs, and now they have, what would they say, like 4 or 5 or something? Yeah, and so I was just curious, like, what the cost of that is and what's involved with expanding it, maybe not back to 50, but a little bit. And like I said, I don't know what the answer to that is. And then I had another, well, this is actually not really specifically budget related, but as we talk about trying to grow our own and expand our teachers shortage, I was wondering if we've considered at all reaching out to the state. I know you guys are going tomorrow, going to be there, but to see if there might be someone interested in putting in legislation that would do like a state plan to pay for college for students. So they go to an in-state school, they'd have to commit to a certain number of years or have to do a payback, sort of like when you get a cash advance for taking a new job. But I know that we as a system we have funding in place to support paying back people's loans, but I think it might really help students who don't necessarily think college is an option for them financially, if they knew that it was going to be paid for up front if you want to come into this great profession and then work here, ideally.
Dr. Smith.
There's actually legislation that was passed and enacted into law that would provide that several years ago. Senator Penske's legislation, I don't have it off the top of my head, the number, but I've heard him speak about it many times in different settings, and thus far it's not been funded. That's been the problem, because the law said, when funded, it will do this, and so it's not been funded in state budgets. There has been some pretty extensive conversation in the Kerwin Commission about plans like that as we think about teacher preparation, and there are 5 major areas in the Kerwin blueprint for Maryland's future, and one of them is highly effective, highly skilled education workforce, teachers, and moving forward would be at the core of that, or the center of that. And there has been some conversation about perhaps bringing those two things together.
Yeah.
But we'll see what
I was
happens.
gonna say, maybe we want to put together a letter or something, encouraging that they start to fund that, because, like I said, I've spoken to quite a few students, particularly like in our ESOL programs, or who have expressed an interest in being a teacher, but didn't know how they would afford to become one. So
We can certainly create a draft of a letter that references the legislation and those things, and bring it back to the full board for your consideration.
that would be great, if if my colleagues are.
Another
I mean,
piece
or-
of the puzzle of that blueprint for Maryland's future, that's being created. So
Yeah, that would be great. Thank you. And then I think that was kind of it for right now. I asked Dan earlier about some of the other things, and so I'll look for those. And then thank you all for your presentation. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Ms. Strockley. Ms. Wolf.
I just want to thank everybody that worked on the budget. I mean, this has got to be the second most stressful job in MCPS. It's stressful to me to sit here and try to understand it. So thank you, and thank you, Nikki, for coming back to support Dan today. And Dan, great job for first time. I just have one question left, and that has to do with the expansion of half-day pre-K to full-day. So when we do that, then there are fewer students we're touching at any one location during the year. I'd like to know what that reduction looks like. I mean, I already know that there are a lot of students that we already cannot reach. So I'd like to understand, if you expand to full day, how many fewer students are we then reaching in a year?
we actually have maintained the number of students. So if you look at, we'll send you that data in a response to this question for the whole board, but we've not lost any ground in number of students served. It's just we've increased slightly the overall number of students served, but we've increased considerably the number served in full day as opposed to half day. And so we'll send you that. That's why when I had a little, I'm not sure what to call it, anxiety attack when I was talking with staff recently, and I said, this shows that we only added, when we report it this way, it shows we've only added 100 students or 200 students over 3 years. That can't be true. And they said, no, it's because we've increased from half day to full day. And so we've maintained our enrollment, increased it overall slightly, but a significant a larger number of students are getting the full day experience. So that's why it's taken, the millions of dollars that we've invested in this to do those two things simultaneously.
I'll look forward to getting the list of where the location, where the programs are located, because that's a major factor in helping to reduce the opportunity gap.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
And we'll list them by school, number of half-day, number of full-day, number of children served. Okay?
Thank you. Ms. O'Neill?
Yes, so I'm not sure that my question is totally in Chapter 1 or is it an OCIP, but it's sort of piggybacking on the question about the special program funding in another way. And Rebecca had mentioned Liberty's Promise, but I know that we provide financial or money to Liberty's Promise, Identity, George B. Thomas, Inner Ages, and we have over time. Some of them provide us with evaluations. Do we have a rubric about looking at results from these groups and how much, when you look at contributing to nonprofits, how much goes to overhead versus direct service? What is the amount to each of these equal opportunity schools? It's in collaboration with the state. It's a nonprofit, but I think we should have a chart. And know that we have a not a competitive process, but a process to evaluate all of them. Many of them, like I know JCA interages, at one point, we had the superintendent had recommend reducing the amount, and we increased it, but it had been the same amount for many, many years. You know, I think we need it all in one place. I mean, I would like to see it all in one place so that we can look, and then what are the criteria for evaluating and looking at how much actually goes to overhead versus direct service to students.
Sounds like you're talking primarily about local or regional
Right.
nonprofits where
Correct.
we do single programs or regional or set programs. So what we'll do is gather all of that together, that's all under contractual services, and we'll organize it in a way that makes sense. In answer to your first question, we don't have any systematic way of evaluating the impact of those nonprofits. And if we do this, I've not seen it, I have seen some from individual agencies where they report their impact.
Yes.
But I've not seen that we gather all of that together and look at overall impact as an organization that pursues their services. So we'll share with you what we have done and what we
Right.
have, and that gives us a good place to start here going forward and looking
Well,
at this
because I
more
know
systematically.
Interages provides us with information about, you know, how many students they've served and, you know, impact. But, you know, if we look at special program funding for schools, I mean, well, it was only 11 schools last year. You know, I think we need to be good fiscal custodians and look at, you know, if we are supporting, you know, or, you know, I know these are all local nonprofits and it's not significant amounts of money, but whatever it is still money, you know, it does,
Right.
it's a supplement for our schools, but I think that it should all be organized so that we can look and see. I know the council on their grant process had gone to a more structured process for awarding grants in the community, and I think we should be careful in how we award money.
Absolutely, we can certainly do that. It probably will take longer to do
Yes.
that than it will to provide the direct answers that you've asked of questions
Yes.
today.
No.
Just because we'll have to gather a lot of different information, but we can get that done
And I think it's
quickly.
not just necessarily in this budget, but in a long-term review of how we do things. And I too want to comment on Dan. You know, Nikki, thank you for coming back and participating. And Dan, you know, you certainly hit the ground running for someone who's only been here, since September? Yeah, I mean, wow.
And had another job before that one.
You know, I'd like to add, Mrs. O'Neill, what you were talking about the administrative portion of these contributions. In the federal government, it's the combined federal campaign where all these contributions are collected. And I used to, would advertise what that admin fee was. So when people were making choices, even for charitable contributions, you would contribute to the charity where it had the lower admin fee. So you're actually making more of a difference with your dollar. So I think you're asking for something similar here for some of these charities. Yeah, it took a long time to get there, but it became a tremendous tool to everybody who was involved once it was developed. It was a requirement of being part of the program.
That's a good idea.
I just wanted to say the George B. Thomas Learning Academy has to have some kind of an evaluation. It may not be
Oh, yeah, they
the
do.
perfect
They
one,
do.
but they cannot get outside funding unless they show some
Yes.
results. And I don't know whether you're going to say this, but Identity has an annual report that they
Yep.
publish.
And they send it to us as well.
Yep.
Ms. Silvestri?
No, I support what you're saying. I do want to raise the point that the money that we gave for after-school programs, are we getting data on whether those were effective or not? Let's hold
Or
ourselves
how-
accountable
right.
to the same
How much of the
standards
money is being used?
that
even?
we're asking external
Yes.
partners to
Yeah.
possibly meet.
Yeah, yeah, exactly. We're waiting for the answer on that one. This is actually one of the things that Dan and I discussed this morning in terms of getting the list of community partners is what I called them. But I like the idea of breaking it down to see about administrative and if there is a way of getting some sort of information about return on our investment. I agree. And I also brought up the after-school activity, and I think that, Diane and Nancy, don't tell me if I'm getting this wrong, but I don't think that was used for this year, but they're applying for stuff schools are applying for next year.
Right now,
Is that my takeaway?
we sent out that we requested plans, and some of the dollars have been distributed to the schools based on plans submitted, and we're still looking at plans, but some of that money has been distributed to the schools already.
Well, and I just want to comment on this, that, I serve on the grants committee for the MCPS Educational Foundation. Yep. And there's a strict guideline when you apply for a grant to the Educational Foundation, and then a requirement of a report after, what you used it for, and strict guidelines, like the Education Foundation doesn't provide after-school snacks, and they don't provide T-shirts and et cetera. But, we have to have a report back to be considered for the next year's after-school activity grant. So it might be, and that's been in existence for a long time, so it might be good to look at that model from the MCPS Educational Foundation, because it goes through the principals and the teachers, and it has strict guidelines and rules on the reporting mechanism. I mean, it could be a model.
I think Mrs. Modrowski was next.
Yeah, I just had one last thing. We were talking about the, what's it called when you do stuff on the computer? Coding. And so I know there was a lot of discussion about the school bus tracking app thing. And I had a thought that, I'll just throw it out there for general, that maybe we would be interested in putting together a dollar amount more along the lines of much less, to see if our students could develop some sort of app and make it like a project. So, if we spent $20,000, for example, a bunch of kids could split it up, or, a couple people could put in, but I figure if we've got middle schoolers who can, get into MCPS's system, they could probably develop a tracking app for our buses that might be a lot less expensive. So just thought I'd float that out there.
Right.
Oh, Dr. McKnight, did you want to address that?
Yes, so you actually spoke about what we want some of the types of deliverables to be for our students who actually go through the programs. One thing I forgot to mention earlier is the 300 students who participated in the coding camp last year. In the feedback that they gave on their experience, they said they wanted to know how they could continue to build on their learning experiences and how they could turn that into businesses and interests for themselves. So they actually said they shared that as some of the feedback. And I'm actually going out to meet with some of the students that were in the program last summer to hear from them specifically about what would the continued learning look like as we continue to build out what those experiences are in high school that Ms. Silvestri brought up. So you're on track for the types of things that we ultimately want them to do. So we definitely take that under consideration, like what those opportunities would be. And even if it's not the bus app immediately, we actually do want to be able to show what are some of the things that they're able to invest in that would be able to help, whether it's the school system, county government, or other spaces. But thank you.
Sure. No, Mr. Timbite and I were discussing yesterday, and I said, that I was thinking about it, and he said, I don't know any students that wouldn't be interested in earning some money, so, just thought, throw it out there.
Yeah. Dr.
I just wanted to say that it's really been a pleasure to have Dan in our office, and he has done some analyses for us that we really have needed and appreciated. And I observed him, you brought up Education Foundation, I observed him in that meeting. He had never heard of the organization really, and they started talking about some concerns we had about how they were funding. And he had all of these suggestions that were really going to be very helpful for the Ed Foundation. So he has hit the road running. Mm-hmm. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Lowndes, we've kept you in that seat for about 40 minutes. I hope you've been comfortable.
A little bit more comfortable in that seat in the back.
But we appreciate your presentation, as well as Ms. Hazel, hearing from Ms. Diamond for the last time, I believe. Thank you again for your service. Oh, so you're shaking your head no,
I think
one more
she'll be
time.
back
Okay,
next week
okay,
for
well,
the
so
work
good.
session, yeah.
We're glad to have you back. And again, we want to also thank our budget team for doing this work year-round. So at this time,
Can I ask one more quick thing, just for one more follow-up thing? There are categories.
Is that what it was?
Oh, I'm so sorry.
No, I just told her she talked too long.
Somebody pushed
I know, now I remembered. I had a question about category stuff for, I guess like particularly with stipends, there are different, or what did you guys call it? The AFib funds, or is it IAF funds? The categories, so if I could just get a little bit of an explanation at some point of how, if one teacher is doing one after-school activity, for example, like drama, they get the drama stipend, but they can't then apply for the stipend for costumes or something, because you can't get two stipends to one
Not
person?
necessarily. I think what the funds you're talking about are funds that are on top of the stipends, and they're distributed in different fashions. Sometimes it's needs-based, sometimes it's based on, is there dollars in the IAF that the local community can help support those? So what Diane is going to provide you is a list of those funds and the distribution by school.
Okay,
and then we can make some assessments there. Do we think it's because the local community doesn't have the resources to help with that, or we can walk through it. But once we get that data from Diane, I'll give it to you.
Okay.
Dr. Smith?
Can we make sure that we also provide the board with the restrictions on those funds? IAF funds have significant restrictions on them, and we want to be careful that we don't give misinformation.
All right. So seeing no more lights, if I can get a motion to adjourn.
Can I just add one thing for the good of the order?
Of
Because there
course
was
you
a
can.
question this morning. Ms. Seabrook and I met with some parents from one community who had concerns about the boundary analysis, and they were specifically concerned that there were replacement buses in the, buses in the budget, and they were concerned that that was going to be used to be busing kids across the county. And I said, we have a replenishment of buses. Every 12 years, a bus has to be taken out of service, and we replace those buses. So we need to put that information out there, that the buses are going toward either enrollment growth or to the 12-year replacement, and eliminate this rumor that this is to bus kids across the county. And I think we need to say that every single time. They were astonished that that was the case. So I know we're not in transportation, but it is a very important point that is misunderstood out in the community. And with that, I'll move adjournment.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor? And that is unanimous.